The program had so many things and it was so varied. And the profs were really enthusiastic because it was the beginning of the program and it showed in their treatment of us as well. So I have to say that the whole program was pretty influential.
There's so many things from Queens that I think I carried into my subsequent musical life. The thing that's tricky for me is that I haven't really ever come apart from Queens because I went to Vienna on a Marty scholarship, which was like a huge thing from Queen's University. But then when I came back to Canada, I taught for a time as an adjunct instructor. And I've stayed in touch with some of my profs, some who are no longer with us, but folks that were lifelong friends and colleagues.
I mean, there were so many great professors when I was going through the drama program in the 1980s, but there was two standouts for different reasons. So Professor Anne Hardcastle, who was an acting professor at that time, she was such a force of nature and everybody loved her. And I think what she did for me is she helped to draw me out of myself. I'm naturally sort of introverted, so she pushed me in ways that I had never been pushed before. And then I also had the chance to work alongside Tim Fort, more on the production design side of things, and he really opened up my eyes to what was possible behind the scenes with drama, and he really invested in me in a way that I appreciated. And the fact I got the chance to go work in Western Vermont one summer as part of the company with the Weston Playhouse that Tim was involved with for many years. So two really great people who helped influence me during my time.
Fred Clark was probably my most influential professor, mostly because he was very organized and taught his subject very well. I never did well in triad harmony, but I enjoyed his course.
Two people who were really influential, or three people actually. One was FRC Clark. It was during my theory classes with him that I was able to kind of get down into it and really figure that discipline out, and that stayed with me. And then I would say Bob Oates and Ray Tizard as my trumpet faculty. Several years later, I was in Louisiana. I did my master's in Lafayette, Louisiana, and playing for Ray Crisara in a master class. And I finished playing, and he just looked at me, didn't know where I was from, and he said, "Bob Oates." And I said, "Absolutely, yeah, he was my my performance trumpet professor." And he said, "I'm going to see him in Ottawa next week."
Well, throughout the Bachelor of Music program, I was involved in electronic music, which was growing, and it was very interesting. I learned a lot about sound tools and how to manipulate sound, which carried me into exploring instrumental technique with a new flavor. How to manipulate sounds was probably one of the most important aspects, and I still use synthesizers today. And the knowledge that I learned from David Keane and other people in the music department, it led me to all kinds of exciting things.
I would have to say for me, the biggest influence had to be Dr. Dwayne Bates, who was my first trumpet teacher at Queen's. He also taught the music and ed courses, and he certainly changed my life in many ways, and I'm very grateful for all of his work on my behalf and his long-lasting friendship.
I remember Fred Uriger in particular. You only got to learn under Fred in fourth year. And I remember learning from him the importance of stillness, the importance of restraint. Like you could change a scene by simply remaining silent for a beat longer or pausing. And I don't think before that time, I really made a lot of room for silence. And I realized through Fred how absolutely powerful it is.
Professor who had the most influence on me was certainly Aurelia Shook, my piano teacher, and he made such a difference in my studies at Queen's, and really, for me, became a model for education that I've carried through in my own career.
I was pretty much a blank slate when I arrived at Queen's, so everybody and everything influenced me. But if I had to pick a highlight, it would be Dr. Schnitzler's ethnomusicology course in 4th year. As someone who was brought up in a very traditional Canadian family, it opened my eyes to the world, not only a range of music, but religion and other cultural norms. It was, to sum up, life-changing.
I think the course that influenced me the most, or was the beginning of this very windy road that I took to lead on the career path that I'm on, was a music therapy course. It led me to volunteer in the pediatrics ward at the hospital playing for the kids. And that was really interesting to me because, again, back at that time, you really didn't leave the music building for much. All of our classes were in the music building, and we maybe had one elective per year outside of that building. And so to get out and get into the hospital and be with people from the city, from the community, was really interesting, and doing something different, not just making art for making art, but doing something very functional.
I did a scholarship audition for Alexander Brott as part of the music school scholarships, and he was one of the judges, and I won. At least I was one of the winners, but I won. And with that, I got principal clarinet with the Kingston Symphony. And I played with the Kingston Symphony as principal clarinet for 47 years.